Hey everyone, this video is going to be about the AC fins and fixing these. I happened to be out in the yard and I looked over and this thing just looked horrible. So I took a closer look and realized all these fins are bent over and realized that that cannot be good for the airflow on this thing. So here's a video of how to fix that. I had already started doing this and then I realized, hey, I should make a video of this. So first thing I did was set myself up a little place to sit and pull out my pocket knife to see how this would go. The pocket knife works up to a certain point. The tip of the knife kind of wants to snag on the aluminum, so it's not really the best option to get the job done, but if it was just a couple fins, you could certainly use it to do it. The next thing I used was a putty knife. I thought, okay, this is going to be stiff, but it's plastic, so it won't snag as bad. The problem with the putty knife, for me at least, these fins were a little tighter than this thing was wide, so it really didn't work just because it was the wrong size. That led me to the next thing, a credit card. It's a little bit thinner, and this isn't actually a credit card, but one of these fake ones they send you in the mail. So this kind of worked. You get the corner in between there somewhere where you can, and when you work it up and through, it will separate them. The next thing I had was actually the plastic that my medical insurance card came attached to. So this is a little bit thinner than a traditional credit card, and the reason I'm showing you this is because apparently there are a bunch of different sizes of spaces in the fins depending on the brand or whatever, I guess. So I was realizing that even a credit card was just a little too thick, so I went and found this. And this seemed to work a little better for me because I realized that the fins on this AC unit were a little tighter together, and this actually was fitting in between them a little bit easier. So here I'm finishing up this corner, and as you'll be able to see, the fins are starting to separate more evenly, and it's definitely going to help the airflow on this unit. Here's an overhead view of what I was trying to do with the card. Basically, you're just putting it in between some of the open spots down below and pulling up through where it's smashed down, and it separates the fins really nicely. After a short while working with that card, I realized I needed something to get around these crossbars of this cage so I didn't have to take that whole thing apart. And I went ahead and cut this shape into this piece of plastic, and it worked like a charm. I was able to get it in between the fins really nicely, get around those crossbars of the cage, and just it pulled through the fins even easier than the other card did with the square corner. So after messing with this thing for a while, my wife went ahead and ordered me this fin comb set from Amazon. And this thing's kind of cool because these different pieces all have different spacings on the ends. So I'll show you in a minute. You'll take this off the ring, figure out which one fits your particular fin spacing. So after playing with these a little bit and trying to figure out which one was really the best fit for my unit, I decided on this red colored one. So the hard part about this is that you gotta kind of jam the fins in between the spaces of the plastic comb, and it really doesn't want to give, which is okay, I suppose, but to figure out which one it is that's the right one was a little bit of a challenge. And here you can see it's going to pull out these gentle bends in the fins really easily. Any spot that was pushed over really hard might be a little bit damaged, and it'll kind of tear off a small piece of the aluminum. And these ones that are really bent over as well, the comb just really, I'm having a hard time making it straighten those out. Here's a quick example of a small spot on this side that's left, and I'm going to use this comb to work through that and pull these back straight. So eventually I learned that I could get these areas that are pushed down a little bit more by starting it out where they're spaced out, and then as I work to where the bent area is, just wiggle it back and forth regressively as I pull up. And you can see here they're starting to separate real nicely. Here's another example of using the comb and pushing it in and wiggling it back and forth to work out that more bent area. Here's another example on this corner of working it through these not so bad of bends. It just pretty much pulls through. Once you get it started in a good section, you can just pull through a lot of these mild bends. So after doing about as much as I could with that tool, there were some areas that are just smashed so badly, I needed something to separate them a little bit before the comb could even go through. So I went and got a flathead screwdriver. It works really well. If you didn't have a lot to do, I certainly could see this being a viable option from the start between this and the credit card option. But you know, with me doing the whole machine, I went ahead and used that tool that gives me about 16 or 17 fins per inch. So every time I'm swiping, I'm doing 16 or 17 at a time, not just one at a time like with the screwdriver. But it works, it gets the job done, and it really helped me to separate some of these really smashed sections so that I could then go through it with the comb and finish it up. So if you remember what this thing looked like in the beginning, it was an absolute mess. And now, after working on it for a little bit in the mornings, a couple days, I've got this thing pretty much back to new. And the cooling difference is actually pretty amazing. With those fins bent over like that, it just can't get the airflow it needs to run efficiently and cool the house. And the difference has been pretty dramatic. So I hope this video helps you out. Click like, subscribe to the channel, check out some of my other videos. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.